Well, good morning, my fine feathered hiking friends. This is Little Hike Mike. And as you can see, I'm out on a little walk. I'm out on a little jaunt through my neighborhood. Or you could say, I'm out on a little hike. I'm a little grumpy this morning because I didn't get enough sleep last night. And I got up on the wrong side of the sleeping pad. You know, one thing that concerns me about making these YouTube videos is that you go through the time and the effort, the editing, and then the posting, and then hardly anybody watches them, or they don't watch them all the way through. But you're gonna like this one. It's all about how to get more sleep when you're on the trail in your tent or your hammock. So stay tuned. So you want to get a good night's sleep for sure. So that's number one priority on most anybody's list if they're going to do any kind of long distance hiking or through hiking. But the first thing I want to tell you about is my short trip out and back one night overnight on Island Creek, which is near Bern, North Carolina in the Croatan National Forrest. It was a social hike, so there were several of us who were out enjoying nature for the weekend. It was a beautiful day. The temperatures were in the mid-60s. It wasn't too warm even for a long distance hike, but we all were backpacking. And we were going to stay one night along Island Creek. And of course, it's part of a club activity called the New Bern Outdoor Adventure Club in New Bern, North Carolina, which I belong to. And I don't go on all their trips, but this one trip I went on, and I was prepared, but I wasn't practiced. What that means is I don't do enough overnights, or haven't been on any several overnight tent camping, hammock camping trips in a while. But of course you do the usual thing. You get set up. The first thing you do when you get to camp, we only hiked in probably about 1.5 miles. And then we set up our tents or our hammocks, and then we gathered firewood, got water out of the creek, and then took our camp chairs. Yeah, we even packed in a camp chair down the embankment along the creek, where we just sat there. And of course, when you sit there with people you haven't seen in a while, you kind of catch up on things, what's going on in your life, what's going on in mine. And then as the night wore on, we made popcorn. Or I didn't make popcorn, I just partook of popcorn. And some of us bought some adult beverages for drinking. And it helps the time pass, and it helps the enjoyment as you're telling each other different stories about things that had happened on your last adventure, which is always fun. So I enjoyed the Island Creek trip, but there were a few things about setting up and about trying to sleep, which I did make some mistakes about. I'll tell you about those mistakes. But the first thing, I'm going to give you some hints and some techniques is, I tent camp, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of the things you can do to set up your tent, how to and where to set up your tent. So let's start there, and I'm going to show you some B-roll of setting up my tent in the backyard, and I'll just try to narrate it in such a way that you'll see some of the things that I think are important to do. So the very first thing you do when you get into the camp area where you're going to camp, and along with 10 or 11 other people, you're going to want to find a spot to put your tent. So where and how you set up your tent or your hammock is going to be the very first thing that you're going to be doing. I'm staging a mock tent setup in my backyard so I could show you some things you might want to look for when you're pitching your tent. You want to try to reduce any anxiety there might be during the night that could cause you to wake up. So the first thing I'm doing is checking the ground to make sure there's no roots or rocks or sharp sticks. I mean, you're not going to have a perfect setup, but the chances are less if you don't have anything sticking in the back at night. The next thing I'm doing is checking for widowmakers. Those are loose branches up in the tree that might fall during the night and possibly, injure you or even kill you. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check the ground to make sure it's level. And of course, you always want to take your level with you when you go on a camp out, right? Everything looks good. So this looks like the spot. Before you put your footprint down on the ground, you're going to check for any sticks or rocks or anything like that that might penetrate through your footprint and cause leakage. Then you're going to use your trekking poles if it's windy so your footprint stays in place while you're getting your tent out. Then when you put your stakes in the ground, put them at a 45-degree angle so it'll create more resistance. So the next thing you do before you go down to the fire pit with your chair is get organized with your things. And so what we're going to be talking about here is getting the things inside your tent that you're going to need when you get up there to actually crawl in and bed down, and those things that you're going to need while you're inside your tent. Now it's time to organize your gear items. I'm taking those items I'm going to need out of my backpack and placing them inside the tent. My puffy jacket went in, my electronics bag went in, the next item is a pee bottle that I put inside, and then I'm going to take my quilt out of the stuff sack and loft it up and making sure it's going to be able to collect the body heat to keep me warm that night. The next item is going to be my sleeping pad, and I'm going to unfold that, unroll that, and I'm going to go ahead and blow it up and get it ready for the night. And then I'm going to take the sleeping pad and use the quilt straps and place those around the sleeping pad and fasten the quilt onto the sleeping pad. And that keeps the sides stay down so at nighttime the drafts don't get in on the sides. There are actually 2 straps that go around the sleeping pad. And I didn't use them at Island Creek, and I paid the price. I did get cold at night because of drafts coming in on the side, and I did wake up because of it. So that was a lesson learned. Now I'm going to make this bed. I'm going to try to make it as organized and as comfortable as I possibly can. So once again, it's going to ensure me that I'm going to get a better night's sleep because of the organization of the items I'm going to need when I'm in there. So the third thing you're going to be doing when you get ready to bed down is get inside of your tent. Now when you get inside of your tent, there's several things you're going to be doing to get comfortable and to get situated so you can position yourself to get as good a night of sleep as possible. Now I'm ready to get inside my tent. So I'm going to roll the vestibule cover back. I'm going to get as much debris out as I can, turn over, take my shoes off, and to try to keep things as clean as possible inside so I'm not dragging things inside with me. Put my shoes over under the other side of the vestibule, and we're going to close it up so I can have a little bit of privacy. And I'm going to get my PJs on now and get ready for the night. So finally, you're inside of your well-pitched tent or your well-hung hammock, and you're ready to bed down. So get ready to get comfortable, get situated in such a way that's going to give you that nice, comfortable sleep. And so here are a few things you can do while you're inside your tent or inside your hammock. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to situate the items that you're going to need readily handy. And one of them could be your pee bottle, another one is your headlamp, another could be your medication bag. Anything that you don't have to fiddle for or fuddle around for to get handy for you. So you're going to have them right handy for you when you need them to get into them. So that's out of your mind. Is the things you're going to need to be handy for you. So the next thing you're going to do, if you haven't already done this outside your tent, you're going to want to do it inside your tent. And the first thing would be to change your clothes. Get into those nice, warm, dry clothes that you brought with you for sleeping, because you want that comfort. And while you're doing that, the other thing you'll do while you have your hiking clothes off is you're going to be checking yourself for any unwanted hitchhikers, like ticks. So deal with those. And that, again, gives you that peace of mind to know that you've done what you can to be able to get comfortable and relaxed. The next thing you might do is, if you have your recharging battery handy, you're going to take the devices that you need to recharge, like your phone or your inReach satellite communicator or even your headlamp. And you're going to have your external battery there and your plugs you're going to need in order for you to recharge those devices. The next thing can be quite relaxing, and it could hurt. What's that? That would be massaging your muscles. So if you brought along with you a massage ball, one of those cork massage balls that are real lightweight, or a muscle roller, it'd be a good time to roll those muscles out now to get that blood flowing through those muscles and help them relax. And you know what that's going to do for you? It's going to stave that pain, help relieve that pain. Most people take some kind of medications with them. If it's not for prescription medications that you need to take for your health, it would be things that would help you relieve pain or muscle tension and inflammation. And that would be take those necessary and sparely taken muscle relievers like ibuprofen or your Advil. And then also, if you do take a sleep aid, it'd be a good time to take one now. You take those a half an hour before, so you go to bed. And some people take a natural sleep aid. And then other people do have prescription sleep aids that they can take too. So those really do help. Benadryl is one. That's over the counter. And then your other one that I occasionally take would be the Ambien. So if you don't need to take those, don't take them, but they can help you get to sleep. Now you're ready to get still. Most people who are tent dwellers know that they don't always have the best, most level ground. You've done as much as you can while you set up your tent and pitch your tent to get level, but there is still some sloping sometimes. So what you want to try to do is make sure your pad is going to be stable. If you can prop some clothes under the possibility of moving one way or the other, so that wedges you into the spot you're in, so you're not sliding again while you're in your tent. Now, since you're still, you're calming down, and you've basically gone through that checklist so far, and you're confident that you've done about everything you can while you're outside your tent and now inside your tent to be comfortable. So this is before you're ready to close your eyes. You're going to calm your mind. And while you're in the process of calming your mind, you're going to deal with any unrealistic expectations that your mind might have that are not going to happen, or the chances of them happening is very slim. Like any unwanted critters that might be mulling around outside your tent and you hear those noises. Now that could happen, but deal with it when it does, but it's probably not going to happen. Another thing might be a tree falling on you. Again, that has happened, and that's serious. So you've done, again, everything you can do when you've pitched that tent, where you've pitched it. You'd look up for widowmakers and whatever to make sure that that isn't going to happen. The other thing would be if you camp near a stream, and God forbid there'd be a flash flood and you'd be washed away. It's not going to happen. So deal with those things to calm your mind. Get them out of your mind. Not going to happen. Now, even at home, sometimes people do this. They'll do a relaxing distraction. A relaxing distraction could be like they might listen to music to help calm their mind. They might watch a boring movie that they've downloaded on their phone. And that many times I have gotten drowsy at home, sitting there watching a movie. Maybe I've already seen it, but it is a distraction. It sometimes does help calm your mind. Other people would say, no, that just causes your mind to race. Don't watch an action movie, or don't listen to punk rock before you go to bed. But use those relaxing distractions to help you get calm. You do. Put those earplugs in. Now, some people say you shouldn't use them. You want to be aware of your surroundings. I don't. I just want to don't have any noises that might cause me or keep me from going to sleep. So put those earplugs in, eliminate those little noises that are distracting. The last thing you do, close those eyes. You've done everything you possibly can do. You know it. You've been through it. Practice makes perfect. So go hiking, go camping. Oh yeah, don't let the bed bugs bite. Uh-oh.